Aaron Jones is back. We are here to break it down for you. Game on, Wisconsin. Everybody join us. Let's talk. Boys, hit it. Good afternoon. How's everybody doing tonight? This is the Game On Wisconsin Roundtable, and we are here for a special reason. We'll get to that in just a minute. I'm your host this evening, afternoon, whatever. Spring forward, so I guess it's 4 o'clock here. I don't know what the hell time it is anymore. I'm Jacob Westendorf. I am joined by the great Jason Perone with me with a gentleman in the background, and we'll get to him in just a minute. But Jason, how's Phoenix?
Cold. It's actually cold. It's only 65 degrees today.
All right, you're an asshole. Jake Morley, how are you doing today?
I'm actually flying into Phoenix tomorrow. But boys, question for you before we get started here. Tell me everything you know about the salary cap. Shut up. You don't know anything about the salary cap. We know nothing about it.
Nothing.
Holy cow. It's not real. This week was supposed to tell us, right, boys? Like it was, hey, I saw people tweeting, oh, those people, the salary cap's not a thing. Those people are going to be really hurt this week. Does anyone think more that the salary cap is real after this week? Does anyone think did that reinforce or change your thought on anything other than, yeah, the salary cap is a real thing, but they can pretty much, and not just the Packers, anyone can do pretty much whatever they want to make sure they get under it. Void years? What are void years? You can just apparently just say, hey, how about instead of in this contract we give you $13 million, we just give you $13 million. Is that
cool? You know what, Jake? I think we could sum it up real simply and just say, kind of like my dad's better than your dad, my GM's better than your GM. That's what I know about the salary cap.
And my Russ Ball is better than your Russ Ball. So let's get into it, guys. On the bottom, Aaron Jones is a Green Bay Packer, 4 years, $48 million with a $13 million signing bonus. First reported by, I believe it was Adam Schefter was the first one to report it, but it may have been Ian Rappaport, may have been Tom Silverstein. All of those guys have been on it. The other bit of news that comes out of that is that Tom Silverstein, and I do know this one, reported that a Zadarius Smith extension is on its way, and it will be here very, very shortly. So Aaron Jones is back, and that's where we want to start. So I'm going to start here, and it's my friend Cody Bauer, and I will join him. Cody, shut up. Go away. No, I'm kidding. In general, that is my philosophy. Yeah. I do agree with that. However, I'm a fan. I'm not a capologist. I'm not a general manager. I'm not anything like that. And I think, Jake, you pointed to this earlier. This week proved that more than anything ever before. This has been my long-standing belief, and this is what I've talked about. And this is not a dig at the people that do these things, because I think there's a lot of great people that do a lot of great work. That being said, it is not possible for someone like you or I to know about the salary cap. That is Russ Ball's job 24/7, 365. It would be like Jason coming into my job and trying to do everything right away. He doesn't know all the details. Hell, I don't know all the details. I work in healthcare. I don't know all the details. It is not possible for that to happen. So here's where we want to start is Aaron Jones is a Packer. Let's just get real quick, because we don't have a ton of time today, the information into just your general reaction from when you got the news first. So Jason, let's start with you. Your just initial reaction.
Well, thank you. It actually came from you, Jake, via the Slack chat over at Game On Wisconsin. I was on my way back from the gym. I was excited because at this point, I don't care what the number is. I trust the Packers to make good decisions. So whatever the structure ends up being, whatever ends up being, like Jake said at the beginning of the show, there could be, 3 out of the 4 years could be voidable. We don't know what the structure is, but you have to at this point. There's just nothing that the Packers have done over the last 3 years since Brian Gutekunst took over as general manager and Russ Ball has been in his role for a long time to tell us that they're going to screw this up. So a huge part of the offense, I talked about this on Pack-A-Day, a huge part of the offense stays. There was no way the number one offense in the NFL was going to be exactly or have the same chance to be what it was last year if you let a player like Aaron Jones go. And there was a cutoff price and there was a limit, but Aaron Jones clearly values in running it back and coming back and being in Green Bay. and he's back. So I'm very excited, and in Goody and in Russ, I trust.
Absolutely. And Jake, let's get to that point too, on just what this all means, not just right now, but going forward and for the Packers, because the first thing that everybody said was, well, does this mean they lose Devontae, or does this mean they lose Jair Alexander or somebody like that? And here's where I'll start on that real quick. Brian Gutekunst and Russ Ball know how important those guys are to this team. There is no way that they would do this deal if it meant losing one of those two guys. And the other thing is Alexander's extension. You don't have to worry about that for another 2 years, because they're going to give him his 5th year option. So you don't have to worry about it this year. And then he could play on his 5th year option, and they'll worry about that 2 years from now when hopefully the TV money and the salary cap spike and all that good stuff. But Jake, what are your thoughts on this deal? Not just right now, but what it means moving forward.
I don't think you get worse by keeping an Aaron Jones on the team. You don't get worse, right? He's one of their best offensive weapons. He's one of the best offensive weapons in the National Football League. Now, do you pay running backs? I don't know the answer to that. I really don't. Has it worked out in the past for other teams? No, it hasn't. But Matt LaFleur has stated time and time again that his offense, the best offense, was predicated and is predicated on running the football. And if that's what he wants to do, then let him do it. Let him have his guys to be able to run the football. And the thing about Ezekiel Elliott not working out, he didn't have Aaron Rodgers standing in front of him. The thing about Todd Gurley not working out is his body fell apart. Could that happen to Aaron Jones? I guess, it could happen to anyone. But he also didn't have Aaron Rodgers on his team. So if you are going to be the number one offense in the National Football League by points per game and yards per drive, that stuff all kind of falls on the shoulders of Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon now, and their ability to run the ball effectively. Like we were talking about pre-show, Jacob, they're not going to come out and run the ball 50 times a game, all right? That's just not going to happen. Aaron Rodgers is still going to be the focal point of this offense, and I think that's why people get confused when they're like, but they say they want to run the ball. They want Aaron Rodgers to have heavy boxes to be able to shred people apart. Because if this team gets moving with the ball running, Aaron Rodgers is going to torch you to the tune of 48 touchdowns and a league MVP, right? So what kills me too is we also talked about this is they're not going to be able to, they haven't restructured Aaron. They haven't done this with Rodgers, this and that. This is the ultimate make Aaron Rodgers happy move. If Aaron Rodgers submitted something and said, hey, this is what I want to happen this offseason to be all in, I almost guarantee you the number one thing on that list was make sure Aaron Jones is on my team next year. It's tough. And like the people that are talking about, well, you don't pay running backs. Like, I get it. I really do. We'll see. The other thing about it is they didn't pay him that much. Like, yes, it's a big contract, but in the grand scheme of things, when the salary cap goes up by bonkers numbers next year, we might look back on this contract and be like, wow, this is like the Austin Eckler deal where he's not getting a ton of money. If it's, between what are we looking at now? Probably average like between 10 and 13 million a year.
12 which is by the straight math here. So,
which is a lot. And it's not going to be 12 a year. It rarely ever is it just 12. My guess would be it's a 2-year contract is what this thing's going to look like when it's all said and done. Mm-hmm. And I just said on the beginning of the show, what do I know about the salary cap? Nothing. So take my word with a grain of salt. But I know Andrew Brandt was our buddy Bukowski's podcast, on Locked On Podcast, and he basically was talking about this. He's like, I don't care how good of a player you are. When I was in that seat, writing up contracts, my goal was always, when can I get out of it? And if I could get out of it in 2 years, that was kind of the starting point. I don't think it's going to be any different with Aaron Jones. And I said this on Twitter. I love Aaron Jones, right? Aaron Jones is one of the easiest people to root for in the National Football League. And so ultimately, isn't that what we're doing here? Don't we watch this?
So, Katie, go ahead and tell me that you got here. It says per NFL sources told, and I don't know. Katie, if those are your sources, please let me know. That would be awesome. But the deal is actually closer to $9.5 million with incentives that push it to $12 million. So again, probably for cap purposes. Jake, not to cut you off, but we do need to move to our next point here in that, yeah, it is a lot of money. And I understand that. And I've been pretty steadfast on, I would not have paid a running back that much, but it's with the idea of, is that going to mean anything for Adams or Alexander, or name your next breakout player that comes? Are they going to have to cut a guy in a few years to make that happen? again, if Gutekunst and Russ Ball, they know that. Gutekunst says it all the time. It always comes down to choices. And I would imagine they did not make a choice between Aaron Jones and any of those two guys I just mentioned. Now, it might mean a piece here or there, but like you just mentioned, Jake, we don't know anything, and they know everything, and they know what they're doing. And I will go one step further. You said you probably guarantee that this is a Rodgers piece that would be on his, this is what I want to happen. I will guarantee it 100% that it was a piece on there of Rodgers always says he wants Aaron Jones back. So I am not surprised at all if that is very much the case. So Twitter, I believe that's supposed to be Matt Lombardi, but very cool then if that is in fact the case. We'll see the exact numbers because that's really what matters. Those numbers are window dressing. The Packers, I'll be very surprised if they end up paying him $48 million. You know, this will be a deal that in a couple years they may transition and move on from him and go from there. But let's talk about the other elephant in the room, and that is the AJ Dillon pick. And now you go back to last year's second round pick, and Jake, you're as big of a fan as AJ Dillon as I know when they took him, maybe just not where they took him, but what does this mean for the investment they've made in the running back position now and going forward?
I mean, I think it's what I just said. They want to be able to run the ball. They don't care. They don't care what the norm is for running backs in the National Football League right now. And as of right now, they're right. They're right. They're the number one scoring offense in the league last year. If they want to invest in the running back position, if that's what they say is going to make their offense go, who are we to say they're wrong? Because they scored points in bunches on people last year. So the fact of the matter is they really value the running back position. So you can look at that pick and say, wow, that was way too much of an investment for A.J. Dillon. And I'm one of those people. Like you said, I love A.J. Dillon. I think he's a phenomenal player. But when they picked him last year, I was like, wow, they really did that. And it's just one of those things, man. Like we could be wrong. You know, it's the pendulum in the NFL is always swinging. And it's been, hey, you can't run the ball. You shouldn't run the ball. All this stuff. It's not important. The analytics Twitter looks at it is probably looking at Green Bay not fondly right now, like they haven't been the last couple of years. But guess what? Green Bay's been right. Analytics Twitter has been wrong. And will that continue next year with A.J. Dillon and Aaron Jones? How are they going to use him? I don't know. But I would expect A.J. Dillon to be very involved in this offense next year. And we talked about it before the show, Jacob. As much as we love Jamal Williams does have some of his, you know, he's not A.J. Dillon. Let's just say that. He doesn't have the athletic ability that A.J. Dillon has. And that's not a knock on Jamal because honestly, there's very few people that have the athletic ability that A.J. Dillon has. And so you look at him as a very, very high-end number 2. And I think it's going to be 1A, 1B next year. So that's what I think we can expect heading into next football season.
And looking at it, you know, Jason, the other thing we talked about is that the way the Packers use their backs and everything that they do, they're going to use those guys on the field a lot. And if you think about it, going into last season, they said they wanted a third running back. They need 3 guys that can carry the ball and do the right thing. And they didn't really have that until later in the season because of the way Dillon's rookie season went. But if you go into this offseason knowing that with this offense, you want 3 backs, now you need to find 2 of them. And with all due respect to who is on the Packers roster and their practice squad right now, Michael, that was funny. Sorry, that was pretty good. With all the guys the Packers have on the roster, Dexter Williams has shown nothing. Patrick Taylor basically didn't play last year, and Mike Weber has shown nothing. So you had to find 2 guys. Now, is it easier to find those guys than it is at maybe some other positions? That's certainly possible. But the Packers decided to go a different route and not want to do that. And you know how much Aaron Rodgers values moving the right way, one way or another in this offense. So I say all that to say, what are your thoughts on this backfield situation? Do they need to add another guy, or do you think they're good right now? And no, that's a good point. Dexter Williams isn't even on the practice squad anymore, so he's gone.
No, they need to add a guy. So if they had to add 2 guys and one of those guys is Aaron Jones, that's almost like 3 guys. I mean, Aaron Jones just does so much. So the Packers solve that need. He's a big free agent signing. We just don't call it that because we don't think of it that way, but that's really what it is. He's a big free agent signing, especially in this year with the salary cap being what it is. The Packers saw enough. I mean, I don't know. Jake Morley, did you see enough? Give credence to the Tennessee game. Was the Tennessee game enough? It's one game, it's one sample size, but was that enough for the Packers to say, and was that enough for the rest of us to really say, hey, you know what? this kid can play in the NFL. They're good, even though they didn't use him much in the playoffs or at the end of the season.
No, it shouldn't be. I mean, in the NFL, that's sometimes all you get, right? And the teams have to go off of that. But like it's confirmed, fellas. Like the Packers got Aaron Jones for under $10 million a year. Like that's
right.
Wild. You sign that. You say don't pay running backs.
They didn't.
They didn't really. Like, I mean, yes, that's not nothing. That is not a nothing contract. But holy cow, when you're talking about projections for 12 to 16 for him upwards, like that's probably what he would have commanded on the open market. Like, so it's wild. And back to the AJ Dillon point, people forget the next week he fumbled. In a pivotal point in the game, he got bopped and fumbled the ball in a big moment. So, AJ Dillon's still a young player, and I think they have huge expectations for him. But now we can taper those expectations a little bit and know 33 is still in the backfield. So we have our ace in the hole, and we have a guy we're really excited about. And that's honestly the best scenario you can hope for an NFL team, for a roster building team, is we have a stud and we have a young guy that we like a lot at that position as well. So moving forward, I think they're really set up well. And I don't think they really need to add anyone else. I think Patrick Taylor on the practice squad all last year, I think he was injured. I think they like him. And honestly, bring back Tyler Irvin. Bring me back.
Chris Evans.
Or Chris Evans.
Draft Chris Evans.
Absolutely.
For everybody that was confused last night, that's not Captain America, which I had to find out. I had to find out that was. I had no idea who that was when everybody was like the actor. I was like, not a Marvel person, haven't watched the movies, had no idea that was his name. Chris Evans is a running back from Michigan. And I think, Jake, you saw him at the
You were talking about America's ass, I thought.
No, we're not. No, what? What is wrong with you?
So the point is,
have you never seen the show?
Yeah. So the point was though that, like, for those that are like, hey, they only had one sample size and one game to decide whether AJ. No, the Packers know what they have in players. That's when we see that when they're smart about who they're going to keep, who they're going to invest in. They already know who they like. That's why they let certain players go, and it can be frustrating to us at times, but it goes beyond just the Tennessee game. The Packers know AJ Dillon's going to be a big part of this offense. I saw enough to know that I think he's going to be great. I'm really excited to see what he does. But Aaron Jones, like that just makes me really excited. And would you rather have, now you can ask the question, Jake Westendorf and Jake Morley, would you rather have Aaron Jones or J.J. Watt? Because they got Aaron Jones for less than $10 million a year, and J.J. Watt's sitting on about $16 million a year in Arizona.
Well,
so,
yeah, knowing all that, I mean, my answer in a vacuum is still J.J. Watt. But I mean, that's beside the point. Let's move into, because we got about 5 minutes left. Let's move into what's next. So Tom Silverstein, I always mix up him and Pelissero. Tom Silverstein has reported that there's a Zadarius Smith extension incoming. And a lot of people on Twitter are pointing out that the Packers haven't done anything yet with Aaron Rodgers' contract. And me, not concerned. For those of you that want a bit of a tease, listen to Locked On Packers tomorrow morning with Peter Bukowski. He's got a theory on that. But I just think they don't have to do anything right now, but they're going to have to at some point. They need money to sign draft picks. They need money to sign anybody else that they add. They need anything like that too. So they're going to, again, I think they know all these things. They know what they need. They know what their team needs are. Brian Gutekunst has said, because there's a question about what William Jackson may sign for right here. The Packers know they need cornerbacks. Brian Gutekunst said himself, it is important that we address that position. He knows. So I say that with the idea of what I think is next for this offseason is the same thing they do every offseason. And that is they take their team needs, they add some veterans, and sometimes it's not the veteran that you want. For example, last year, Devin Funchess is probably not the veteran everybody was like, oh yeah, sign a wide receiver. But if you look at their needs, defensive line, cornerback, receiver, something like that too, they're going to sign some veterans in those positions. And maybe it's not the guys you want, but they're going to add some, I call them covers or insurance policies or something like that before they go into the draft. So that's what I think is next for them. I think you'll see an extension with Devontae Adams, and at some point they're going to do something with Aaron Rodgers' contract. Not worried about that at all. Like Jake down here mentioned, Aaron Jones coming back is a move related to Aaron Rodgers, whether you want to look at it that way or not. So guys, we got about 2 minutes apiece here. Jake, real quick, what's next for this team? Where would you go next?
I think I looked at, so I put a poll out the other day, 4 guys that I thought were interesting, and one of them was Aaron Jones. They clearly signed him, and the other 3, 2 of them are guys they have had interest in, and that is Dalvin Tomlinson and Will Fuller. I would think one of those guys will be a Packer. The other guy I randomly threw in there was Richard Sherman. I don't really know how I feel about him, but I think you if they're going to make a splash, that's going to be the type of splash they make is this kind of the semi splash, with a guy like Fuller or Tomlinson, two guys that are good players, but probably aren't going to break the bank. Last thing is look for a lot of 1-year contracts this year heading into next season.
Jason?
Hey, while we're at it, and Russ Ball's going to be the magician that he is, why not just go ahead and get Stephon Gilmore? I don't care. Just whatever it takes, just go ahead and bring him in. Just pull the trigger. It's got to be cornerback and defensive line, just based on the fact that the line just isn't strong in the draft this year. I think those two positions right there, even if they go mid-tier, I'm happy. Mark Eckel, my co-host over at Pack-A-Day, threw out a name like Malcolm Butler. I'm not necessarily saying Malcolm Butler specifically, but a guy along that level there. I think Richard Sherman is going to end up commanding way too much for what he still offers. I don't think that's going to be a good necessarily investment for the Packers money-wise. But after this Aaron Jones deal, are any of us convinced that Russ Ball can't actually pull a rabbit out of a hat? I don't know. I'm just going to sit back and enjoy the week. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So enjoy the week, enjoy the time. The legal tampering period starts tomorrow. And the other good news that I do want to point out is the Packers coming into this year were able to keep David Bakhtiari, Kenny Clark, Aaron Jones, and they have yet to cut anybody of significance, with all due respect to Christian Kirksey and Rick Wagner. They were able to keep Preston Smith. They were able to keep some of the other guys, and they have more that they can do. So maybe that's Rodgers' contract. Maybe that's Adams. Maybe it's something else that we don't know. But I think at the end of the day, if there's anything we've learned, we know nothing. So we just sit back and we enjoy the ride. So everybody enjoy the ride. Sit through here. When you're done here, go on over to Packer Report at Packer Report 66. Ross Uglum and Peter Bukowski are live right now to talk about this very thing. So if you want to listen to some smart people talk about this, you just got that when you were here. Go check out Ross and Peter over there as well. Appreciate you guys stopping by. Aaron Jones is a Green Bay Packer, and we'll do something like this again whenever they sign whoever it is they sign. So looking forward to that. Looking forward to free agency and the draft. Catch me and Jake Morley on Wednesday on the Gold Zone. We're talking offensive tackles. And Jason, quick slants this week. He'll have a wide variety of topics, as he always does. Thank you guys for listening, and we'll see you guys again very soon.